is intended for listeners who are blind, have low vision, or have another print disability, which makes reading, holding a book, or turning a page difficult or impossible. The content is copyrighted by the respective publishers. For more information, please visit us on the web at nfradioreading.org.
Hello, this is Janice Marie Hunt, and for the next hour, I'll be reading from the Sunday, December 14th, 2025 issue of the New York Times Arts and Leisure section on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Headliner, My 10. Danny Brown starts every day anew. On the cover of Danny Brown's new album, Stardust, the rapper's face appears in shadow, but his well-defined abs are clearly visible. Is the 44-year-old excited to show off the results of his hard work at the gym? Totally, he said. In 2023, Brown entered rehab, and he's eager to discuss sobriety's positive impact on his physical and mental health, his relationships, and his art-making process. Brown is a Detroit native with a classics appreciation for language, but an ear for beats that are anything but traditional. Over the phone, he discussed his new habits and cultural passions that keep him grounded. These are edited excerpts from the conversation. Number 1, meditation. In rehab, we had a meditation class. It was something that calmed me and got me out of my head. Once I stopped looking at it as a way to help me with a problem and looked at it as an everyday normal thing like breathing or eating, it started to work for me. I should clear my thoughts every morning and start fresh. Number 2, coffee. As you age, your energy goes down, and when I turned 40, I got into coffee. I'm not a snob. I drink cheap black coffee. I wake up at 5 or 6 a.m., then I journal, and I go to the gym, and I drink coffee until 10 a.m. Then it's water time. Number 3, The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. My favorite band is the Bobby Lees, and I was listening to an interview with the lead singer Sam Quanten, and she was saying that she found The Artist's Way. I picked the book up and started doing the exercises. Writing every day became a part of my morning routine, and I do it so fast and write so nasty I could never read it back. Number 4, working out. I've always wanted to be in shape because of the clothes I like to wear, but I never understood the dieting part. I've just now grasped the concept of macros. When I started, I couldn't do a pull-up to save my life, and now I can do 10 or 15 straight. Kids go outside and play, but as adults, we don't play. Going to the gym is playing. Number 5, Hermes sandals. Going to the gym, I discovered that I have real weak feet. You're not supposed to wear basketball sneakers every day. I had basketball feet, toes all bunched up. One of my trainers said I should get toe shoes and I should wear a lot of sandals too. Now I have an addiction to Hermes sandals. Number 6, pedicures. I was always ashamed of having my feet out in public. And about 10 years ago, I started taking care of my nails, and I really love it. Number 7, The Power of Love. I met my fiance at SXSW about 10 years ago. I've been in relationships before, but I never had someone who pushed me so hard to be a better person. She's seen things in me that I didn't see in myself. Getting sober. I give her all the credit for that. That's the power of love. I know that sounds corny. Number 8, dogs. I was the cat guy for the longest, But you know how cats are. You know how they are. I would leave for tour, come back, and have to get to know my cats again. That would They would act like they didn't like me, scratching me, hate me, but with my dogs, I never felt this kind of love. Number 9, cologne. I love mind games, double attack. I don't get really too mad when I see someone wearing the same clothing as me, but yesterday I smelled someone wearing double attack. Maybe I'm bougie with my scent, but I'm wearing BYREDO today. Number 10, Prometheus Rising. In rehab, they watch a lot of movies, but I'm not so big into that. I would just go to my room and read a book. And being on this internet, my brain has gotten worse. I would read whole chapters and not retain any of the knowledge. I had to train my brain to get engaged. I'm into reading spiritually and self-help. Right now, I'm reading Prometheus Rising by Robert Anton Wilson. It's some breaking the matrix type of thing. It will alter the way you look at life. Inside culture. What has stuck with us? Aunt Gladys, Tyler, the Creator, the sex scene in The Naked Gun. These are things culture staffers couldn't stop thinking about this year. Bat Boy, the musical at New York City Center. Apologies, but there was only one misbegotten doomed creature for men in 2025. This revival of the 2001 cult musical, ripped straight from the headlines of the Weekly World News, had bite, blood, and heart. Beyonce's Cowboy Carter stopped in New Jersey. I cannot get this show off my brain. I was so impressed by Beyonce's showmanship and the way she cleverly wove country and R&B on stage. Not to mention, she danced for nearly 3 hours in frigid rain. Liberation. I dreaded seeing this play, which sounded like it was going to be a finger-wagging history lesson. But I went because Bess Wohl's work is always worth seeing. It's told from the point of view of a daughter reconstructing her mom's involvement in the early 1970s women's movement, and it hit me hard because my own mother's life was transformed by that era. My mother died between the time I saw Liberation off Broadway in February and on Broadway in October, so she never got to see the play and we never got to talk about it. But a scene in which the protagonist images asking her deceased mother about choices and change and child raising and paths not taking will stay with me for a long time. You Are What You Do. Daniel Arnold's latest monograph, You Are What You Do, was published by Loose Joints earlier this fall. In it are the types of pictures that will bust your heart and eyes wide open if you let it, and you should. The Real Housewives of Orange County in Amsterdam. Girls Trip are frequently deployed on Bravo's Real Housewives franchise to stir up drama in an unfamiliar location. But at their best, see the New York Wives' journey to Tequila, Mexico in 2017. They provided pure comedy. Shannon, Heather, and Gina chemically enhanced excursions in the Netherlands this past season were fall down funny, and not just because Shannon repeatedly fell down. The Boys Mind Tour. Brandy, who broke out as the California girl next door with the iconic braids, and Monica, the rebellious Southern baddie with the pixie cut, won a Grammy in 1999 for their duo, The Boys Mind. But the studio manufactured tension stoked a years-long pop rivalry. So it was with a healing exhale that I watched them last month at the Barclays Center, double headliners on tour named for the song that once divided them and their fans. times 4. Wally Cardano's reconstruction of this David Gordon duet from 1975 was born an act of devotion to and invocation of the ghost of New York past, not just of Gordon and his wife and duet partner, Velda Satterfield, its original dancers, but to the whole ethos of downtown dance in its 1970s heyday, with this intimate scale sense of complexity between performers and audience and clarifying combination of rigor and everyday movement, times 4 was performed with flawless commitment and bright flashes of wit by Cardano and Molly Lieber. You could hear the dancers breathe and their bodies connect with the floor, and just beyond the noises of the city, that was the cradle of this art. Come see me in the good light. This documentary stayed with me for weeks after watching it, not only for the poet Andrea Gibson's gut-wrenching battle with terminal cancer, but for their sublime words and wisdom and the ferocious love shared with their partner, the writer Megan Falley. Can I be frank? This solo show, written and performed by Morgan and directed by Mary, Sam Pinkleton, is built from the archival writings, songs, and comedic material of the 1980s queer performance artist Frank Maya. Effortlessly between their own sharp reflections and occasionally rants, and Maya's original words, creating a conversation across time that is deeply funny and moving. No other choice. Scenes from the satire film No Other Choice by Park Chan-wook, Decisions to Leave, Oh Boy, have wormed their way inside my head and won't leave. I keep seeing flashes of a laid-off paper mill manager, a North Korean gun, and twisty roads ahead. Wasek by the Canadian Opera Company. War, I guess, was on my mind. Outstanding for me was William Kittredge's production of Alban Berg's opera Wozzeck, the brutal tale of a soldier driven to madness set in the years around World War I. I saw it in Toronto, presented by the Canadian Opera Company. Seeing Silence, the paintings of Helene at the Met. This month, along with The Long Dark Nights, a visitor from Finland arrived at the Met, as quietly magical and memorable as the Northern Lights. She is Helene, 1862 to 1946, still unknown here, though beloved at home. Her first ever solo painting exhibition at the museum reveals striking, emotionally charged portraits, landscapes, and interiors, first naturalistic and later nearly abstract. While there are traces of the old masters Douglas and Cezanne, visual language is so modern, fresh, and spare. It brought back the wonder of seeing another Nordic pioneer, the mid-century designer Alvar Aalto, for the first time. Dear Bill in Operation Mincemeat. I spent the first half hour of the musical Operation Mincemeat wondering how I could discreetly walk out. But then came Dear Bill, perhaps the best new song on Broadway this year. Within the span of 6 linting minutes, I was moved to tears, convinced Jack Malone should win a Tony Award. He did, and firmly seated. Never before had my feelings about a show so quickly, drastically changed. Aunt Gladys and Weapons. The Broken Twigs That broken wig and weapons, the supreme villain of the 2025, played by Amy Madigan, mixed camp with cunning to create the ultimate in smudge lipstick fright. Hide your kids, hide your wife, and definitely hide your husband when this pasty faced menace comes knocking at your door. Witchery in pop culture. Ever since Lady Gaga cast a spell during the Grammys broadcast when she debuted Abracadabra off her album Mayhem, witchery has bubbled up across the pop world, and I'm not even talking about Wicked. Everybody screamed Florence plus the Machine's album released on Halloween and replete with overt imagery and lyrics. And Zach Krieger's surprise horror hit Weapons is about a witch leveraging the dark arts for her own survival. Across the board, perhaps reflecting our current fright era of American feminists, this particular assembly is defined by ferocity, fury, frustration, and catharsis, and entrancing plenty along the way. The sex scene in The Naked Gun. They say comedy does not travel, but I saw The Naked Gun reboot in Brooklyn and a small town in France, and the sex scene between Liam Neeson, Pamela Anderson, and a vengeful beheaded snowman destroyed equally in both theaters. There's something universally funny about Frosty Breaking Bad. Ragtime at Lincoln Center Theater. Having missed the much-lauded City Center run, I was determined not to miss the production's transfer to Lincoln Center. While the entire cast is incredibly talented, no one captivated me quite like Joshua Henry, who gives an emotionally raw, magnetic performance that I could not look away from. Ozzy Osbourne on stage. In July, I went to Back to the Beginning, Ozzy Osbourne's and Black Sabbath's final concert in Birmingham, England. But what I really got was the most ludicrous musical event I'd ever attended, with a who's who of heavy metal acts. Metallica, Slayer, Gojira, paying tribute to their icon. It's like Ozzy biting the head off a bat. One fan said of the lineup, people will think it's made up. The American Revolution. As a hardened Brooklyn history nerd, I've long known that the biggest battle of the American Revolution was fought in my neighborhood. Spoiler alert, we lost. But it took the heart-pounding sequence about the Battle of Long Island and Ken Burns' 12-hour epic, complete with animated maps and eerily abstract reenactor footage, to make the action and the terror of August 27, 1776 seem real. Who knew it started with a skirmish over stolen watermelon? And ended with a mountain of hacked bodies on the site of my Sunday farmers market. War is hell, even in the 18th century. Reinvest in sentimental value. The millennial Hepburn, or maybe the millennial Karina, and The Worst Person in the World. And again, this year, in Joachim Trier's Crisp, as the drama of father and daughter separated and reconciled through art. The Norwegian actress smiles, stumbles, sights, second guesses, and fashions the most natural portraits of 21st century youth ever put to screen. Almost no one under 40 has really captured the intense aimlessness of my generation with our endless choices and shrunken futures. Superman. When Clark Kent finds himself suddenly humbled, grappling with his biological parentage and his identity, his father consoles him, saying, "Your choices, Clark, your actions, that's what makes you who you are. I'll tell you something, son. I couldn't be more proud of you. For an adopted kid, that felt familiar too." Hamlet and Hamnet. The best stage moment of the year was in a film, Hamnet, which movingly and uniquely portrays the power of theater by shifting the unusual focus from the actors to the audience. This occurs in the movie's final segment, all after the Shakespeare's young son has died, when Agnes travels to London to attend a performance of Hamlet in which Will plays the ghost. First through her eyes and then through those of the groundlings and gods, we see the communal heroine and healing effect of great tragedy. Go-Go Juice by Sabrina Carpenter. In Go-Go Juice from her new album, Sabrina Carpenter proclaims, "Slipping on my go-go juice. I can't be blamed. Some good old-fashioned fun sure numbs the pain, and it has lived on repeat in my head and on my playlist ever since." Sometimes you need a song to remind you that not everything has to be so serious all the time. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from the New York Times Arts and Leisure section on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. The best film. Focus on the art, not the business. It was another great year for the movies and another horrible, hair on fire year for the industry, as each month brought some bummer box office news. The litany of woes is familiar. There aren't enough studio releases, moviegoing is overly expensive. People want to stream whatever. The bigger picture is always more complicated and is worth repeating again. That the business and that avatar known as Hollywood isn't synonymous with cinema. As usual, I had a tough time winnowing all the movies I liked down to 10, but here are your reminders that what matters to us moviegoers isn't the industry's bottom line, but the art. Number 1, Sinners by Ryan Coogler. One of the most exhilarating movies of the year, Sinners, defies expectation at every turn, set largely in Jim Crow Mississippi in the 1930s. It draws from different genres for a uniquely excuse me for sneezing. It draws from different genres for a uniquely American horror story about race and resistance, art, and community that's anchored by twins, both played by Michael B. Jordan, whose world is threatened by white vampirism. As darkness descends, the story's horizons open to incorporate the sweep of American history, one whose soundtrack is the blues. If the big studios want a sustainable future, they need to make room for more filmmakers like Coogler. One Battle After Another by Paul Thomas Anderson. An American as apple pie and anti-authoritarianism, Anderson's Carnivorous film opens on ragtag group of would-be revolutionaries, among them Tiana Taylor's Dynamo, liberating migrants from a detention center. The shock of that scene reverberates throughout this beautifully directed and acted film, which narrows on one burnout member, Leonardo DiCaprio. Roused to action, he stumbles out of his cannabis-infused stupor like the ghost of radicalism, past for yet another battle, one that others have been fighting and will fight far better. Marty Supreme by Josh Safdie. From the minute this opens, Safdie rarely takes his foot off the gas. It opens on the Lower East Side in the early 1950s, where a Jewish shoe clerk, a sensational Timothy Chalamet, nurses grandiose dreams and catches endless schemes. A story of an American outsider striver, the movie evokes the life of Saul Bellows, the adventures of Augie March and Bud Schulberg. What makes Sammy run, but it's also a Safdie movie through and through. I'll have more to say about it when it opens December 25th. It was just an accident. Jafar Panahi. An allegory that took place on and off the road. Panahi's latest centers on a group of men and women deciding the fate of a man of whom they took captive. They believe that the hostage may be their former prison guard, a sadist in service to the regime. As they drive in and around Tehran, they bond and bicker and travel onto political and philosophical terrain. Panahi, who has served time in prison for running afoul of the Iranian government, drew from his experiences and those of other inmates for this slow-boiling ethical thriller about action and inaction and what it means for people to resist together. BLK NWS Terms and Conditions. Kahil Joseph. Intimate and sweeping, intellectual, exciting, and formally audacious, Joseph's essay movie takes as its point of departure Africana, an encyclopedia of Africa and people of African descent, edited by Kwame Anthony Appiah and Henry Louis Gates Jr., which was inspired by a project that W.E.B. Du Bois began before his death in 1963 for his mind-expanding meditation on Black lives, identities, and experiences. Joseph deploys a dizzying mix of new and archival material, traverses centuries and continents, invents new worlds, and showcases thinkers like Hartman. It's a trip. I might check that out. My Undesirable Friend Part 1. Last Air in Moscow. Julia Loktev. Don't let the 5-hour plus running time put you off. This collective portrait of journalists, mostly women, who have committed themselves to reporting the truth about President Vladimir Putin's regime, Russia, in the face of escalating government threats. Loktev began making the movie in 2021, the year the government started cracking down on journalists as foreign agents, and she continued as Russia invaded Ukraine. She shot the movie on an iPhone. She has a very good eye, which deepens the movie's intimacy. With each passing hour you fall for and worry about these journalists whose integrity, resolve, and gutsy reporting serve as a rebuke to tyranny. Sorry, Baby. Eva Victor. Victor takes the lead in her emotionally delicate, tragicomic feature directing debut. She plays a professor, Agnes, who lives in a cozy house not far from the small New England college where she teaches and where years earlier her life indelibly changed. Something terrible happened to Agnes, and while you can guess what took place, Victor gradually eases you into the story with sensitivity and jolts of wit. An exploration of trauma that evades the usual tidy cliches of many trauma stories. Sorry, Baby is a portrait of a woman groping toward making peace with the past as she finds her place in the present. The Secret Agent. When Marcelo Wagner Mora rolls up to fill the tank of his Volkswagen Beetle at a gas station, he immediately blanches at the corpse rotting nearby. Flies are buzzing, and stray dogs soon come running, even as the police pass it by. Set in 1977 during the Brazilian dictatorship, the period of great mischief, as the movie Cody puts it, this latest follows as goes into a hiding in his surprising, adamantly non-formulaic escapade, a mix of moods and tones ornamented with surrealistic touches. The Secret Agent is at once a political time capsule and unnervingly topical, caught by the tides. In this sui generis hybrid, Gia joins the story of a woman with that of China itself in a mix of fiction and nonfiction film and video that he began shooting more than 20 years ago. Using the lovelorn, played by Zhao Taho, the filmmaker's wife, as his narrator through line, Gia relates a twin story of an individual and a country that's by turns melancholic and hopeful, and insistently grounded in the material world, betrayed by her petty criminal boyfriend. Never utters a word she doesn't need to, like Jira's own penetrating gaze. Her expressiveness speaks volumes about the sexism changes affecting the reality around her. The Mastermind. What do we owe one another is the question that movingly hangs over Reinhardt's subtle portrait of a family man turned petty criminal and fugitive, a low-key unheroic Josh O'Connor, set in 1970. It opens with O'Connor's JB scoping out the small regional museum that he and some colleagues will soon rob. Despite their comical bumbling, the thieves manage to miraculously steal a small number of abstract paintings. Their triumph proves short-lived and finally beside the point in a movie that quietly and steadily shifts into an ethical reckoning about the harms of individualism in the face of urgent collective need. Other movies that I liked: Presence, No Other Land, The Annihilation of Fish, Mickey 17, Black Bag, Materialists, Soul Mirror's Story, Highest to Lowest, Suspended Time, Megadoc, Blue Moon, Orwell 2+2=5, The Alabama Solution, A House of Dynamite, The Perfect Neighbor, Sentimental Value, Nouvelle Vague, Resurrection, Cover Up, The Testament of Ann Lee, No Other Choice. And those were the 10, the best of the film, focused on the art, not the business. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from the New York Times Arts and Leisure section on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. 5 Critics' Choice Award nominations: Best Picture, Best Actor, Joel Edgerton. Winner, National Board of Review. Best Adapted Screenplay, Clint Bentley and Greg Quetter. Film Independent Spirit Award nominations: Best Feature, Best Lead Performance, Joel Edgerton. Golden Globe Award nominations: Best Actor, Best Song. The Best Picture of the Year: The grand sweep of our lives, Train Dreams suggests, is the sort of thing we can only begin to understand when we're reaching life's end, and even then we may only grasp it dimly. Like the boots nailed to the tree, human life is fleeting in the face of the earth's long lifespan. The forests that were there before we existed and will still be there long after we're gone. It's all knit together. You just can't see it unless you get up high enough to look. Train Dreams, the best picture of the year. Now playing. Exclusive 35mm screenings, 4 West 58th Street in Manhattan. And additional theaters nationwide. Check for showtimes at www.traindreamsfilm.com. 11 Critics' Choice Award nominations for Best Picture. Frankenstein. 5 Golden Globe Award nominations for Best Picture. Lush, melodramatic, sweepingly romantic, and achingly emotional. It is a tale of fathers and sons, of lovers and outcasts, of men as the true monsters. Mary Shelley's skeleton is there, but the flesh around it is Del Toro's. This is a story about feeling lost in a cruel world and seeking an explanation and choosing to live. Frankenstein. Where the Starry Night Shines. Enjoy the holidays with us. MoMA, the Museum of Modern Art, 53rd Street and 5th Avenue. Icons, an exhibition of the most celebrated works from Southbridge's history. December 13th through the 21st, 945 Madison Avenue, Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m., Sunday, 1 to 5 p.m. Upcoming experiences in the Palm Beaches. See so much more than you came for. The Palm Beach is so much culture, so little time. When you're busy enjoying art and live performances at the world-class museums and venues in the Palm Beaches, that white sand stroll may shift to tomorrow's to-do list. palmbeachculture.com/explore. Anne Norton Sculpture Gardens, January 14th through March 8th, 2026. Picasso, Clay, Line, and Legacy. Flagler Museum, may I help you, madame? The making of the modern department store. Glazer Hall, performing arts venue. The Cooper, Charleston, South Carolina. See you at the Cooper, opening spring 2026. Charleston's luxury waterfront hotel is coming soon. Be the first to step inside. Reserve your stay. Charleston, South Carolina, thecooper.com. The best of video games. New ways of thinking. In the struggle to understand and make sense of life, art has a way of remaining relevant even when in chaotic times as ours. It might feel more useful to march in the streets than plug into a video game's digital distractions. Yet, these worlds do contain value. Each of these games bears a specificity that draws from context both present and past, showing us novel ways of looking at both. Coming-of-age narratives showed up in a big way this year, exploring the messy moment of a new world's birth. Other games use the potent tool of nostalgia to provide a brief respite. And mystery games have had a mighty resurgence, with several detective stories having the protagonist put an opaque an incomprehensible narrative back together in a way that makes sense. It's little wonder that such games would hold appeal right now. The best of video games. The first one, Artist Impact. The next, Baby Steps. Number 3, Consume Me. Number 4, Despolate. Number 5, Hades 2. Number 6, Keep Driving. Number 7, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Number 8, Mafia, The Old Country. Number 9, The Root Trees Are Dead. Number 10, The Seance of Blake Manor. The best of video games. New ways of thinking, definitely check it out. Honorable mentions, Absalom, The Altars, Blueprints, Promise Mascot Agency, Silent Hill F. "500 newsrooms that can't be bought. Accountable to communities, not corporate interests. As corporate media consolidates and local newsrooms close, communities are losing access to independent reporting that serves them, rather than shareholders. But reliable news coverage strengthens civic engagement and promotes government accountability at all levels. The 500 independent, nonprofit newsrooms that belong to the Institute for Nonprofit News, INN, are funded by readers and philanthropy, not owners chasing returns. Your gift to Newsmatch unlocks millions of dollars in matching funds for independent reporting accountable to people. Newsmatch, powered by INN. Donate today. INN.org/give-to-newsmatch. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from the New York Times Arts and Leisure section on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Tender, joyous, bittersweet, and very, very funny. Spelling Bee is the gift we desperately need, the New York Times. The 25th Annual Putnam County Spelling Bee. The Critics' Pick. Limited engagement through April 12th. Get tickets at spellingbeenyc.com. New York Times. Games. Smart games designed by experts. Try the crossword, the mini, spelling bee, tiles, and more from anywhere. NewYorkTimes.com/games. The best of theater. When the spotlight shines even brighter. Some of this year's most inspired moments fit nicely into a few themes. Once overlooked actors given bigger spotlights, acclaimed stars impressing us anew, and directorial flourishes that heighten our experiences. Here, we revisit some of the stage moments that especially stood out. A Charge in the Air of Gods and Mortals. Wilkman Benaby. Take Route 88 West. I Like the Nurse's Office. Hiding and Hoping. My Son, Big Gestures, Big Feelings, A Countdown. A Messy Meet Cute. Breaking News, Checkmate, A Scream to End All Screams. Talking Loud and Quiet Risk. The Naked Truth, Budget Lines, High Camp, Now You See Her, Active Listening. These are just some of the best of theater. The best of classical. Fresh storytellers really stood out. Few art forms are as burdened by canons as classical music and opera. That perhaps is why I love to be surprised. to come across premieres and fresh interpretations that upend my expectations and open my mind to new possibilities. When I think about the past year, those are the moments that stuck with me most. Here are 10 of them in chronological order. The best of classical. Sound On. Ted Hoffman. Leo's Genetic. Hotel Metamorphosis. The Comet Papilla. Gustavo Danomo's Corigliano. One Battle After Another. Rosalia. The Monkey King. Even the strange can be special. Classical music and opera can sometimes seem to trade in prettiness, but the performances that stayed with me this year were the ones that expanded the spectrum of sound, finding expressive gold in the gritty, the luminous, and the brassingly strange. Across the field, artists brought a sense of adventure to performances of old and new music and reminded us that nothing can replace the immersive wonder of hearing music unfold in real space. Barbara Hannigan in John Zorn's Germolette. Christopher Sarone's In a Grove. Leaf of Anas. Patricia Stravinsky Violin Concerto. La Sanamabula. The Gurshah's Orchestra. Salam. Pinapati. Bulis Ritual. And Poiesis Quartet. Even the strange can be special. The best of classical. The best of dance. Artistry stays on its toes. Dance is a physical art, but what it leaves behind is emotion, energy, and motion. Emotion was often the bedrock of the dancers and dance artists who rose to the top this year. There was the meteoric rise of choreographer Robbie Blue, whose Better in Denim commercial for The Gap and choreography for Dolce sparked a new kind of dance fever. And on the basketball court of the New York Liberty, the Timeless Torches, a team of dancers all 40 and older, celebrated their 20th anniversary, continuing the troupe's mission while pointing out a universal truth. On or off the stage, embracing movement is the foundation for a full life. Here is my favorite from the year and 9 more in no particular order. The best of dance. Twila Tharp at New York City Center and American Ballet Theater. Rennie Harris, Pure Movement, American Street Dancer. Times 4, David Gordon, 1975 to 2025. Monica Bill Barnes and Company, Many Happy Returns and Lunch Dances. Lexi Smith. Tyler Peck, A Suite of Dances. Alexa West, Jawbreaker Part 1, Part 2 at 99 Canal. Kim Brandt, Beach Sessions. Leslie Kujak at the Center for Performance Research. Trijo Herrero. Honorable mentions, Ralph Lemon and Daryl Jones Lowe. Mariah Evans, Harboring at the Snug Harbor Dance Festival. Florentina Hausingser's Dance, R.I.P. to the great Beatrice Cordua. Jack Ferver's My Town. Jamal Roberts for Foreseeable Future. The debuts of India Woodward in Theme and Variations. Winner, National Board of Review, one of the year's best pictures, Jay Kelly. Winner, one of the year's Best Pictures. Golden Globe nominees: Best Actor George Clooney, Best Supporting Actor Adam Sandler. 4 Critics' Choice nominations: Best Picture, Best Supporting Actor, Best Original Screenplay, Best Casting and Ensemble. All My Memories Are Movies. The Best Picture of the Year: a fully formed knockout, a masterpiece made with palpable love for cinema and its magic. George Clooney gives the performance of a lifetime. A remarkable cast. Adam Sandler has never been better. It's his finest hour. The movie, J. Kelly. The best of television. An abundance of big ideas. Many of us, from time to time, talk back to the TV. Elvis Presley once gave his television set some helpful feedback with a gun. A few of us even end up making a living at it. But what I was struck by while whittling down my favorite shows of 2025 was how many of them seemed to be talking to each other, having spirited dialogues about art, human nature, even politics. And why not? TV series emerge from the same culture and climate. They breathe in the same air. So in 2025, we watch the same ideals grow and take different forms in fancy-filled animations and realistic dramas, in documentary and in comedy. I present my top picks in the form of 5 complementary duos for a total of 10 shows worth pairing off with. I list them alphabetically by first item in the pair. Andor and Pluribus. Common Side Effects and The Lowdown. Dying for Sex and Long Story Short. Pee-wee as Himself and The Rehearsal. The Pit and The Severance. Honorable mention: Alien Earth FX, The American Revolution PBS, The Chair Company HBO, Death by Lightning Netflix, Hacks HBO Max, Hal and Harper Mubi, King of the Hill Hulu, Murderbot Apple TV, North of North Netflix, Platonic Apple TV, South Park Comedy Central, The Studio Apple TV, Flawed but Fascinating, The Bear FX, Foundation Apple TV, and Paradise Hulu. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from the New York Times Arts and Leisure section on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Outside the U.S., Out of This World, The Best of Television. Watching international television series this past year was a little like the old days of art house cinema. Now shows arrive from some of the world's most distinguished filmmakers. Those series are on my list of the 10 shows from outside the United States that I most enjoyed, presented here alphabetically. Once again, my personal spreadsheet of new and returning international shows hit an astonishing new high: 1,035 titles in the past 12 months. Asura on Netflix, Dan Da Dan, Diary of a Ditched Girl on Netflix, Exterior Night and Mausoleum Son of the Century, Families Like Ours, Just for Today, Keith on the Disney Channel, Mafia on Viaplay, Unforgotten on PBS. Honorable mentions: Adolescence, The Best Heart Attack of My Life, Blue Lights Season 3, Dead Girls, The Eternaut, Her Majesty, The Narrow Road to the Deep North, Patty, Slow Horses Season 5, Soldiers. The best of art. Radiance shines through shadow. It was a bright and dark year for art. A mold-breaking New York City museum debuted an awesome new home. Two other museums expanded and refreshed themselves. And large and small shows under the radar artists surfaced and were hot. At the same time, the arrival of a new political order firing off anti-diversity mandates cast a pall over both the year and the cultural future. The new Studio Museum in Harlem. Redesigned Rockefeller Wing at the Met. An expanded Frick. Jack Whitten at MoMA. Coca Fusca at El Museo del Barrio. All manner of experiments, legacies of the Baghdad Group for modern art. Indigenous identities, here, now, and always. The best of art. The best of pop. Hearing the past, looking to the future. Musicians know how to make music, and they know, even if they insist they don't, how to bake in answers to the critiques that await them. Many of this year's best albums seem to anticipate listeners' responses and use them as creative fodder, and a reflection of how genres and subgenres are being morphed by online feedback in real time, and how sometimes, often in the most exciting times, that funhouse mirror feedback loop can be more thrilling than the original input. These are albums as dialogues. Fans can listen to their heroes and then listen for themselves to Effie, Jim Legacy, Justin Bieber, Rosalia. They are gutting a body of water. Bon Iver, Addison Rae, Water from Your Eyes, Bad Bunny, YHWH Nail Gun, Taylor Swift, Sailor, Morgan Wallen, OKLOU, Clips, YFN Lucci, Playboy Carter, and 8 more for good measure. Zach Top, Earl Sweatshirt, Omari Black Star, Correndo's Ketamine, Cordazo Ketamina, Trying Not to Have a Thought, A Tropical Entry, Industry Machine, Jump Out, Live, Laugh, Love, Ain't in It for the Health, Black Star, Trying Not to Have a Thought. You've been listening to a reading of articles and features from the New York Times, Sunday, December 14th, 2025. From the New York Times Leisure, Arts and Leisure section. Your reader has been Janice Marie Hunt. Thank you for listening and wishing everyone a happy holidays and Merry Christmas.
Coming up next in the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service, we have the re-airing of this morning's Buffalo News. Following that at 6 p.m. is the Buffalo News Viewpoints. Stay tuned for this reading and more throughout the day. following program is intended for listeners who are blind, have low vision,